So, Little Simz is a UK hip-hop artist. This is her third studio album. I'm just now catching on to her music. I have heard her on a few features before, but I've never sat down and listened to a full project of hers. But I'm glad that now is the time that I decided to do so, because this is honestly a really enjoyable album, and I'm so here for this young talent. Structurally, this album isn't shooting for anything overly ambitious. These are pretty standard verse-chorus hip-hop tracks, but what makes them stand out is her personality on the mic and what she has to say. She strikes me as being a pretty smart observer of the things around her, and pretty mature also for it being so early in her career and her being so young. And yeah, she has a cynicism to her that I really like. I just really like her mind, and I feel like this is a pretty honest and confessional record at points too. She does cover ground for a lot of topics here, like the artist struggle and shit she's dealt with due to her race and gender, and I'm just speculating here, but I think the title Gray Area is a reference to the gray area she feels in trying to understand why this guy screwed her over, as referenced on Sherbert Sunset and Therapy and Boss and Selfish. This record has a pretty varied sound palette. Inflow, who handled the beats here, did a really great job at making sure every beat feels individual in the context of the track list, and the concise nature of the record and the short track lengths make it just feel like a sugar rush of so many different sensations. It's very consistently engaging. Her voice also has a snarky tone to it, which gives so much of what she's saying attitude. Even though her deliveries aren't always the most animated or have the most range, she has a genuinely convincing confidence, especially when she gets braggadocious, like on the first cut, which just packs so much into its beat but makes it all work so cohesively. It's got these squealing sound effects and a howling woodwind instrument, which I think is a flute, both of which really contribute to how distressed the song sounds, and then there's this grimy bass that kind of wobbles throughout the track and then momentarily descends next to this very assertive drum timbre. And then I think the strings and pianos just lead so effectively into the chorus, which just has so much attitude to me. I love it. And I also love the way the other braggadocious cut, Boss, was handled on this thing. It's got this thumping bass line that kind of creeps along next to this kick-snare pattern. It's a pretty bare-bones and sinister approach, but it just makes the vocal delivery feel that much more evocative when it hits. And it seems like the gain is turned way up on her voice to just make what she's saying feel that much more in your fucking ear. And then in the chorus it just becomes this completely distorted shrieking where she's yelling at this person for fucking with her heart, which I think is directed towards the guy who cheated on her, which then she addresses in more detail later on Sherbert Sunset. And it seems like she's genuinely on this track taking a step back and trying to understand how this guy could do it, but just being at a loss, and how to deal with this in the most rational and painless way possible. It feels like she definitely has her head in the right place, but she's not sacrificing it for emotional honesty, which I love. That's all with this very mellow synth melody and very crisp percussion to reinforce it. And then on Selfish, she talks about how wanting to stick to herself and maybe being her own favorite person could be seen as selfish to some people, but she's just kind of tired of the shit she's dealt with from people up until this point and is pretty unapologetic about it. And also how at this point she should be able to brag about her accomplishments or enjoy material things because she's earned it through her work ethic. And how if you know you have something special to offer the world, you can't really be concerned with when you are and aren't relevant in the span of the time you're an artist. You kind of just gotta let it all unfold and see what happens. And the breezy keys on this cut too are stunning. I love the low-key tone that the beat maintains throughout, and I think Cleo Soul did a great job at fitting into the production on the hook. And to be honest, I think 101 FM is one of the most vivid and evocative songs here. She talks about her earlier days just making music for fun, and how all those years of learning remain sentimental to you even after you've reached success, because so many people didn't really give a fuck about you or what you care about or your come up until now, and it all just feels a little bit shallow. And I don't know, man, I just love the little chirpy ass synth melody on this thing. It sounds like something you'd find in a charming little indie-tronica record or a video game soundtrack or something like that. And also the beat on Venom, I just can't not mention, because the way the fidgety strings kind of evolve into that wash of hi-hats over the very ominous bass line is just swag as fuck, and I love the addition of the little vocal snippets that are reversed in this track. And I also love the fact that Wounds is kind of talking about this glorification of violence, or idolizing a lifestyle you in reality know nothing about. Even though it's kind of a shame that the impact of this track was brought down by a bit of a lackluster beat, in my opinion. I don't really have that many issues with this record, though, honestly. I think You'll find a filler line here and there, but that's not a huge issue for me when there's just so much else to enjoy about it. And yeah, overall, I just think it's a really tight, engaging hip-hop record from an artist that I'll definitely keep a closer eye on in the future. So yeah, only 35 minutes. You should give it a listen. Feeling like an 8 on it. Thanks so much for watching this review. Check the description for a channel update, and I'll see you next time.